Hello everyone, Nadia Growell. How's everyone today? And remember, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you're up to date, right, on all my videos on co-parenting, divorce, separation, anxiety, dating while separated and getting divorced, raising kids, close in age. So my topic today, right, is the 10 worst things that you can say to your children. Kids, like I just did a Facebook Live on this, and kids are very sensitive. Kids are very fragile. They soak up everything like a sponge. So you have to be very careful as to, what you say to your kids. You never want to say stuff to them that is going to, flaw them, taint them for the rest of their lives. And sometimes as parents, we do. But the good thing, right, is that you always have the next day to redo it. We're not perfect as parents, and I'm certainly not. I'm guilty sometimes of saying things that I shouldn't to them, of, screaming at them, of just, overreacting to certain things. And, we get overwhelmed as parents. But there's a few things here that I want you to keep in mind, right, that are like really like up there at the list that you should never say to your kids. And I have the list right here. Number one is, right, you should be ashamed of yourself. Why would you say that to your kids? You don't want to say that. They're too little. What is there for them to be ashamed of? Really, like I said, they're little kids. They're not aware sometimes of, what they're doing. That's why you're there as a parent, to teach them, what they should do and what they shouldn't do, what's right and what's wrong. What are they to be ashamed of? They're small. If they're babies, they're toddlers, they're preschool kids, and not a good thing to say. So just don't, say that to them. The second one, don't be so sensitive. Kids are sensitive to begin with. If you look at them the wrong way, they cry. If you say the wrong thing, they cry. If you do the wrong, they cry. One of my kids, Ava, is like that. If I gave her this look, Mommy, why'd you give me that look? Why do it's so mean? And then she falls apart and start crying. So you imagine, like, if every time I said to her, right, don't be so sensitive, she would bottle up. That's what would happen. Like, she would stop feeling things. She would bottle up. She would hide her feelings. She wouldn't cry anymore. And she would become like a very desensitized person. So they're sensitive. They just are. They're sensitive to your reactions, to what you say to them, to, what you do. And that's just who they are. They're little kids. They have a lot of feelings. A lot. And sometimes, most of the time, they have a hard time controlling their feelings. And they cry about everything. Everything. The next one, how stupid can you be? You don't want to say to your kid, how stupid can you be? They're not stupid. They're little kids. They're growing up. It's just not a very good word for them. They're not dumb. They are who they are. They're small. They're unique. They're their own persons. They don't know what it means to be stupid. So just, keep that out of your vocabulary with them. You are such a slob. Who isn't a slob? Really, your kids, of course they're slobs. I'm not going to deny it. Of course they leave their clothes all over the place. They spill food all over the playroom. Their rooms are a wreck. They brush their teeth and there's toothpaste all over the bathroom. But, right, they don't need to be called a slob. What you have to tell them is, honey, if you made this mess, we got to clean it up. Have to teach them how to clean up after themselves so they don't feel like they're slobs, because that's really like an awful term to use with your kids, that they're slobs. When it's an adult, it's different, but not as kids. With kids, you want to protect them. You want to protect their minds. You want to protect their self-esteem, the way they feel about themselves. If you loved me, you wouldn't do that. They are not aware of it. They love you. Of course your kids love you, and they're going to do what they're going to do. Of course you're going to be there along the way to guide them and say, don't do this, don't do that. But don't put them on that guilt trip of like, if you loved me, you would do a certain thing. No, that's not right. That's not okay. with a small little child, you don't want to use that with them. You're just like your mother and father. Here's the comparatitis. Like I said, you don't want to compare your kids, to your mom and dad. If it's a situation where the mom and dad are like awful, they just, they abandon the kids, they're never there, they curse at them all the time, they hit them. You don't want to compare your kids to that, because they're not like that. Like I said, they're unique, they're individual. You have the ability to mold your kids into like amazing, extraordinary adults. You're co-creating that as you go along. Don't compare them to, people who are not like that. And even worse, if it's your mom, if it's their mom and dad. And also, here comes into play, right? Why can't you be more like your brother and sister? Guess what? You say that to them, and a lot of parents do. A lot of parents do, because they have their favorite. They have like their kid that's like amazing and like that just does everything right. And they'll say, well, why can't you be like your sister? Why can't you be your brother? Because they're not. Because they are their own person. When you do that, right, they will feel like they could never live up to your expectations, that they'll never please you, that you'll never be happy with them, because you're putting like their brother or sister up here and they're all the way down here. So guess what? They're gonna feel like a failure, like they have no value, that they'll never be good enough. Get that out of your vocabulary. Don't want to say that to your kid. People ask me, which is your favorite? I don't have a favorite. I don't. I love my kids the same all across the board. They're each different. They each have like their own cute little, things that they do. I love them all the same. I have no favorite. I pick no favorite. I treat them all the same. I would certainly never say to them, you should be more like your brother or sister, or why can't you be like them? I never say that, another thing, you never want to say to them, I hate you. You just don't. You don't want to tell your kids you hate them, because they're going to believe it. They're going to believe it, and, they're going to grow up thinking, my parents, don't love me. They hate me. I should have never been born. I should never be in this world. They're not going to want to be around. They're going to feel like they never fit. They're going to say, well, who loves me? If my parents hate me, then everyone hates me. The whole world hates me. They're going to feel like they don't belong in this world. It's really not a good thing. It's awful. It will taint them for a long time. It will flaw them. It will just like, they'll have like a lifetime of depression over it, and they'll end up, with a therapist for years and years and years trying to fix that damage that you created with them. And the last one, like I said, is I'm sorry I ever had you. I talked briefly about this in my other video, and I'm going to touch on this now. For the moms and dads out there, right, who feel like they would not be good parents and they just don't want to be kids, that's okay. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. You're doing a big favor to yourself and to the kid that you would bring into this world that you really didn't want. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you would not be a good parent, that you don't want kids. It's not being selfish. It's not saying that, because you're not a mom, you're not a complete woman. That's complete nonsense. It is. Some people are just not parent material. Some people should never be parents. They just shouldn't. Just shouldn't, because what happens when you have kids and you really didn't want them, you resent them, you just never pay attention to them, you abandon them, you let them do whatever they want, they end up in the streets, you're never there for them, and it's not fair to the kid. It really isn't fair to the kid. So, that's one thing to think about, but don't ever say to your kid, I should have never had you. They're gonna say, well, I was a mistake. And even worse, to their mother, which is like the most important person in the world next to their father. My God, I feel horrible that my mother doesn't want me, that she never wanted me, that, why am I in this world then if my mom doesn't want me? That's like a recipe for, like I said, lifelong trauma for the child. They will have awful relationships. They will repeat this like destructive behavior in their marriage with their kids because it's what they grew up thinking. So let's not do this. You know, let's not say these awful things to your kids. Thank you for watching. That's it for today. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if there's any topic that you'd like for me to talk about, please put it in the comments and I'd be more than happy to do a video on it. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.